All right, welcome to the Non-Stuffy Attorneys Podcast. I'm here with Chris Guymon of Conflict Resolution Center. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So you're out in Utah, huh?
Yeah, we're right in northern Utah. It's called Logan. It's about 20 minutes from the Idaho border, so we're about as high up as you can get. I'm not hearing you now. Nothing. Can you hear me? Let's see.
All right, how about that?
Yep, that's working.
Difficulties, man. Jeez. So we'll cut that out.
Yeah, you're good.
Unless our viewers are interested in technical stuff. So yeah, how long ago did you start your firm?
Yeah, I started my firm straight out of school about 10 years ago. Yeah, and the microphone cut out again. I can see you talking. There we go. I heard something.
All right.
Yeah, I can hear you, but it sounds like it's coming from a microphone other than the one in front of your mouth.
Is that right?
I can hear you clicking on the keyboard better than I can hear you talking.
How about now? No.
Yeah, still pretty quiet.
How about now? Any better?
There you go. That sounds better.
We'll get it right.
You know, I did a big presentation. Like, people had paid a bunch of money to be there, and the whole first 30 minutes was the same way. And I was just mortified because, thousands of dollars to attend, and I couldn't get the tech right. So now I have multiple backups, just like you do, obviously. But yeah. Love it.
Gosh. So resume where we left off. You started right out of school, huh?
I did, yeah. So I had an opportunity to work for a big law firm in San Antonio, and 20th floor, right up on the river walk, just beautiful building, beautiful place, beautiful law firm. And the last thing they said to me was kiss your family goodbye. You'll see them in 3 years. And my child was 11 months old. And I was like, no,
is that literally what they said to you?
Yeah. They said you pretty much have to pay your dues the first 3 years, big law firm. I was trying to get into the mergers and acquisitions area of their firm because I'd been on the negotiation team and done pretty well for our school there. And I was like, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in kissing my family goodbye for a couple of years. And so I was the first person to tell them no in about 25 years, and packed up, moved to Utah where my family's from, took the bar here. The best job offer I got was $50,000 a year here, where the one there was 120 plus bonuses, probably close to 180. And so I was like, well, for $50,000 a year, I can start my own firm. And I started my own firm, grossed $78,000 that year, kept 17 of it, and realized I sucked at business and needed to figure out what I was doing. So that's kind of my origin story, sadly.
They must have been super shocked. They probably said that so confidently, right? If no one ever turns them down, it's kind of kiss your family goodbye.
They hired 3 attorneys every year from our school: the valedictorian, the president of the Bar Journal, and then the person who won this advocacy award. And they'd been doing it for 20 something years. And I was the first person to say no. So yeah, they were a little shocked to say the least.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a little ridiculous. I'm assuming it was all billable hours, right? You had to like meet a certain billable.
Yeah. You had to bill 45 hours a week.
So to do that, you almost double, right?
Yeah. I figured at least 60 to 70 hours minimum. So 10-hour days, probably 7 days a week. If you don't vacation or anything. So yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's wild. Do you do billables now?
No. We have a family law firm, and we do everything on flat fee.
Good for you. Did you start out that way?
No. I started out. I think my first billable hour rate was $150 an hour. My posted paralegal billable rate is now higher than that. I have them at $195, and my attorney's at $395. If we ever had to bill by the hour, mostly to cover us if there's a bar complaint, right, on the legitimacy of our fees. But yeah, so like I said, I did not understand business at all when I first started, and so which is why I do so much with helping attorneys on the business side of stuff now. Because man, they teach you how to be a good lawyer, like to make good legal arguments in law school, but they tell you nothing about how to provide legal services, and it's pretty hard to support your family on $17,000 a year. So
right, yeah, that was why my wife and I were successful right from the get-go, because she was doing the production, she was doing the consults, and the legal work, and I was handling the business side of it, and yeah. So what'd you do to, I guess, well, when did you first realize like, oh shit, I suck at business management?
Legitimately, it was when I met with my accountant that year, and he showed me like that we'd gross 78,000 and that our take home was 17. It's 14 or 17. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's like minimum wage almost. Like you didn't go to law school to make minimum wage. And so I was like, I either have to go get a job working for someone else, or I have to figure out this law firm thing. And I started studying I also realized that all the advice I'd gotten from attorneys was really, really bad. Like my mentor, I love the guy, but he's like, good attorneys don't advertise, like work just comes to them. And that may have worked 50 years ago, but people can't hire you if they don't know who you are. So I started taking advice from everybody other than attorneys on business stuff. Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Workweek was one of the first books I read, and really just started devouring the business stuff, and saw massive growth from there, and then kind of became what we are today. So yeah,
I hear that a lot. The referrals will come. Like, I mean, it's all well and good, I guess, if you've been around for a while and you've networked and all this, but you're only going to go so far, and you can't control it either.
Yeah,
it's like I'm a control freak. I want to be able to make sure everything is happening how I want it to happen.
Yeah,
but I can't go tell this lawyer or this CPA, you need to get me 5 referrals this week.
Right.
I can tell our salespeople, like, hey, you need to close 5 cycles this week. Like, you got to do it.
Yeah. And it hit me really hard. So at the beginning of my practice, I had my real estate license and my law license. I was a real estate agent before law school. And so if I had my real estate license, my broker would give me an office. And so I effectively kept the license so I could get the office space for free. When I talk about bootstrapping, I lived in an apartment above a commercial building that my in-laws owned. It was $200 a month in rent, and my wife worked it off, and I knew they wouldn't evict their grandson. So there was no risk on housing. And then my office space I got for free by keeping my real estate license. So I really did bootstrap stuff. But I had this client come in, and I helped him with their real estate transaction, and he loved me. And about a year later, I saw his house for sale with someone else. I was like, what the crap? Like we were close. And I reached out to him. He's like, yeah, I couldn't remember your name. Like I called your office. What happens is I'd switch brokerages. And so he called the old brokerage, but they're not going to refer him over to me at a different brokerage and lose the
Hell
money,
no.
right? And so they're like, yeah, he's not here anymore, but so-and-so is. And they kept the case because he couldn't remember my name. And so even when it comes to referrals, even if you're not like marketing with Google or whatever, like there's still work that has to be done to keep those repeat clients and stuff happy and knowing your name. Like just because I'm the redhead, he called and was like, hey, my realtor was the redhead. Like that's all he remembered is that I had red hair, and it didn't work. So yeah, making that predictable and repeatable is critical, even if you don't want to do Google ads. Obviously advertising, whether it's Google or another part, can speed that process up. But
well, I think you got to do all of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you hit all the means, and then, okay, what's working the most? You really, invest the most time into that, but you shouldn't really neglect, right? We get a decent amount of referrals.
Yeah.
But we don't really put a whole lot of attention on it, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. What do you do for marketing?
So funny enough, most of my stuff is referral-based marketing, but it's working with strategic referral partners. And so my big belief on this, and I still do the Google stuff, right? I have LSAs and I have pay-per-click, just a basic there to kind of, Google reviews, that kind of stuff. But my primary focus is I work with, I try to look at the journey from my client's eyes. Like, okay, where are they going? What are they doing? What's happening? They have these problems and they lead into, now I need to get divorced. So what were they going through before they needed to get divorced? What's going on there? And I try to work with the referral partners at that stage. So, for instance, I on the board for a local abuse shelter, and I do a free legal clinic there where I help victims of domestic violence. Not surprisingly, people who go through domestic violence often end up in divorce, right? So great opportunity to do some service, and they do some really good stuff there. But it's also a great opportunity to meet people before they're ready. I do the same thing with marriage and family therapists. The college is just about 10 minutes from my office. And I learned that the people who are getting master's degrees, that it's a 2-year program to become a marriage and family therapist. In the second year, they actually have clients, but they're still in school. And so I worked with the professor up there to come in and do a presentation on mediation, negotiation, and just what the divorce process looks like, so that these therapists can help their clients understand what the alternative is to their situation. Not that they're recommending getting divorced, but sometimes it's worth helping their clients understand what that looks like if that's where they need to go. So I go there and I teach that class. Well, now I'm the first attorney they've ever talked to. And not surprisingly, I give them some information and say, hey, if they need stuff, we do free consults for referrals from you, and let them reach out, and they come in. So a lot of it's that, but what I've had to learn here is you got to make it beneficial to the referral source, right? What most people do is they say, hey, we serve the same people and look at all the cool things I can do for your clients. Well, if all you're doing is giving them extra work to do and they don't get anything for it, they're not going to do the extra work. I mean, they care about their clients, obviously, but they're not going to do the extra work. So everything that I do when it comes to referral partners is, this is what I can do for you. And the solution is, if you refer people to me, your problems will be solved, right? But I always have to frame it in, it's almost like you're creating a new offer for that referral partner and solving that referral partner's problems. And the solution is referring to you. And if you do that, then they just keep coming. And then you just have to maintain that relationship, right? So that's most of
what problems are they encountering?
Yeah. So like the abuse shelter, for instance, right? What happens here is these people come in and they've been told a lot of, like, if you leave, you're never going to see your kids again. If you leave, you're not going to have any money. If, like the abuser has been using, if you leave ... to keep people to stay. And the therapist can say stuff, but it just doesn't have a whole lot of weight because they're biased there. So by bringing me in, now it's an expert on divorce. This is what happens if you leave, and they believe that. And the truth is, my free clinic is almost always like, he's not going to take your kid away, and you are going to get, you're going to have money. And then the caseworker steps in and like, and if you need housing, like we can help you with housing. And like, it just empowers these people to see what life looks like if they move forward. We almost never talk about legal stuff. It's almost always, you just can't take your kid away and you're going to get some money. So you'll be fine. But they need that step in their healing process to decide what they're going to do next. So because this abuse shelter wants their clients to be able to heal and move forward, and that's the only way that they can get this information into them, it's incredibly valuable to them. And so they happily fill my clinic up, right? Every other week I show up and they put 6 people on my calendar. And now as a clinic, I always offer them the free services first. We have a bunch of stuff in there where Utah has a free clinic for victims of domestic violence where they can get representation for free. And I give them the paperwork for free as well, like because Utah has some pretty good templates and stuff. But the truth is, some people don't want to do it on their own or they don't qualify. And so it ends up turning into work just naturally by creating that relationship. But it still starts with solving the clinic's problem first.
Yeah, that's really smart. That's really smart. Have you heard of building a story brand?
Yeah. Love Donald Miller, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's his name. Yeah, Donald Miller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a bunch of good stuff. Got his books.
You got a bunch.
Yeah, he's got the story brand. But he's got like a marketing made simple, which like kind of gives you the how to take what he taught in building a story brand and actually use it.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna buy it now.
Yeah, he's got a business made simple that's pretty decent too. Kind of 30 days of just do these things to build the foundation of a business. That's pretty good too.
Huh. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to get that now. I thought he was just a story brand. I thought that was it.
Yeah. Story brand's what made him popular, but I think honestly, I've read most of his books because he's got a coach builder book too for coaching businesses. I've read most of his stuff, and I think his marketing made simple is the best because it's a literal how to. Like, in the story brand, he talks about like why you need a story, but in marketing made simple, he's like, make this story, and this is how you use it. And so it's a lot more straight to the point, less theory, more action.
Well, I'm going to be buying a book. I'm going to be buying a book today.
There we go. Yeah.
Huh.
I'm going to tell Donald Miller he's got to give me a cut of that commission, I guess.
Yeah, it made me think of that, like with solving the problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really, I mean, if attorneys were asking me, like, what's one piece of advice to have a successful law firm, it's focus on people's problems. There's so many things we can do as lawyers, right? Like I could file a motion to dismiss on any case. I've never seen a petition for divorce get dismissed since everybody has the right to get divorced, right? But I still have the ability to file that motion, but that doesn't solve anyone's problems. That's just extra work. And there's so many things that we can do as lawyers, but when you really spend some time saying, okay, what's my client's problem? How do I solve that as effectively and efficiently as possible? You end up cutting 90% of the legal procedure out and getting to the meat that actually moves stuff forward. And the cool thing is the legal industry is incredibly inefficient as a whole. And so when you work on efficiencies like this, you can quickly become the best in your area. The average divorce in Utah costs $19,800 per side. Our fees range between $6,500 and $12,000. The average divorce takes 9 to 11 months. Ours takes 3 to 4. And we often get better outcomes because we understand the co-parenting and that kind of stuff. And since we're focused so much on the parenting plan and co-parenting stuff, we can do that. And it's not like I'm a genius. Like the things I did to get from 19 to 12 or 19 to 6 were very, very basic. Like just not do the things that aren't going to move the case forward until I know they need to. We have a 98% success rate at mediation, but it was just like super basic stuff. And I just think like for most people, just focusing on the problem, cutting out all the extra crap can end up making a very valuable service for your clients. And the cool thing is what people don't know is the attorneys who work for me make twice as much per hour as they would make somewhere else. So even though we're charging less for our services, our attorneys are making more just by working on efficiency.
Yeah. So you're able to handle more volume and all that. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, we're kind of the same way with our probate.
Yeah.
Probate's long and
Yeah.
complex, and you got all kinds of stuff going on with it. Yeah. You wouldn't believe it, but I just got an alert that my battery's low. This day.
This is going to be the podcast of how to deal with tech issues. Do not have a single point of failure. I think that's a business element they teach people, right? So
so that first year, what were you doing family law then? Was that what you started out as?
I mean, I was doing whatever people showed up and asked me to do, right? Yeah. And that was a big part of my growth phase. It was that 80-20 principle from the 4-hour work week. And Tim Ferriss was saying, hey, 20% of the stuff you do produces 80% of the results. And so I sat down one day and listed, I took just a legal pad and I literally wrote the case name, how much money they paid in their initial retainer, how much money I got paid overall, and how much work I did, like what the bill should have been, right? And then I had a fourth category of, I guess there was a category of what practice area it was. And then the last category was, did I enjoy working with this person or not? I just laid that out. And luckily I didn't have a ton of cases back then. I think I had like 18 or 20 cases on the year. It wasn't a lot. So I listed every single case out, those things, and realized that most of my income had come from family law cases. Like the actual money in my pocket. All of my headache cases were the smaller retainer amounts. In fact, I mean, this is crazy. My retainer back then was $500. Okay. And $150 an hour. So, and I looked at it and I was like, anybody who paid under $1,000, 100% of the people who paid under $1,000 as in a retainer, I wrote, no, I did not enjoy working with these people. And obviously the difference between how much I collected overall and how much work I did was massive on those cases. So at that point, I set my retainer at $2,000, which I thought was impossible. I'd gone from 500 to 1,000 at some point, but I still went from 1,000 to 2,000. I was like, there's no one who's ever going to pay me $2,000. But I changed my retainer to 2,000, and I walked into the office the next day and told my paralegal that who was answering my phones at the time, I was like, we only do family law cases now. If someone calls on something else, just refer them out. Here are the people you refer them to. That week, we had $9,000 worth of work call in that were not family law cases, like contract cases and real estate and stuff. Which at the time, again, I hadn't made $10,000 a month, so that was a ton of money to me at the time. And we said,
of course it's going to come in. It's going to come in as soon as you make that decision. Yeah.
We said, and I know that number because at the end of the week, the paralegal said, she's like, do you realize you said no to $9,000 worth of work this week based off of our, average case value, which I choked on. That month was my first $12,000 month, which again, 10 was always my goal. So like to hit 12, like I was 20% above my goal. I thought I was the richest man in the world by niching down to one practice area and doing it well. But I definitely was tested at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because Ashley, have you heard of Breed Along? You know who she is? The happier attorney? Yeah. Yeah. So she got us onto flat fees, but I had been telling Ashley, like, hey, we need to do flat fees. Because she was billing by the hour when we first started. 7, 8 months, all by the hour. And, she didn't charge for everything. She didn't bill for everything. Mm-hmm. So, she'd be sending emails and talking on the phone with them, and she wouldn't be like, what's your billable this week? It's like 9 hours. I'm like, what the fuck? You worked 60 hours. What the hell's going on? And so finally, I read Breeda's book in a weekend. We had a conversation with her, and Ashley bought in. And one of the first cases that came across was this person called up. I think it was some contract they needed. They needed it on a rush. And Ashley knew the work very well, right? Mm-hmm. And it was very, very valuable to these people, right? They needed it done quick. They needed it done right. And she came to me. Now, if she would have charged by the hour, right? Because she would have gotten it done quickly, right?
Yeah.
We were looking at maybe $750, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
She's like, what should I charge? I said 7,500, and she like got white as a ghost,
Yeah.
and she's like, I can't charge that much. I said, look, they'll probably pay more than that. I said, but go tell them 7,500. And she got sick to her. She got like sick to her stomach. She said she was nauseous, and she went in there and told them 7,500, and they were like, okay, do you take Amex? And it was just like as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never looked back from flat fee since then. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. See, it becomes all about the value to the client, right?
Yep.
Which again is that problem focused services. But if you can identify what a problem is costing somebody or what it's worth to somebody to have it solved, and then you price your services less than that, like they're happy, right? And then you can then take that money and find the most efficient way to do it. You know, like most of the stuff at our office is done by our non-attorney team.
Yeah, same.
The truth is they're better at it, right? The attorney in my office here, kind of our chief legal officer, he has won some crazy big cases recently. And like we had 2 different cases where the first case he's terminating the dad's rights, and the second case he's trying to not have the dad's rights terminated in front of the same judge. Very similar fact patterns. And he's literally, you know, he gets dad number 1's rights terminated, and then the week after has to go and not get the second dad's rights terminated in front of the same judge who just heard all of the reasons why dad number 1, right? And so like he was very intentionally like showing why the stuff in case number 1 didn't apply to case number 2, even though opposing counsel didn't know about case number 1, the judge did, and he ends up winning both of them. Just incredible. Like his legal analysis is incredible. And part of the reason he could do that is because all he does is focus on legal analysis and arguments, right?
Yeah.
What that also means is if a client calls and asks a question, he's not available. You know, when you have so much work and so much focus on one thing like that, you can't be answering emails all day, right?
Yeah.
But we have someone on our team who answers emails all day. And so now all of a sudden people get answers faster than they ever got. And they get the better outcomes because the attorney's focusing on what they want. Right. So, yeah, just by focusing on the value, you can do so much more with so much, and it costs us less.
Yeah.
Way clients get more,
Yeah.
and we spend less.
For sure. Yeah. We're heavy, very heavy on paralegals and legal assistants. Yeah. Like super, super heavy on that. Like each probate paralegal, each paralegal has their own legal assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they just have too many cases to be able to handle, right? The phone calls that come in, and yeah, the emails, all that stuff. It's just, it makes more sense to pay a legal assistant $17-20 an hour to handle all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you pay your staff well too, is kind of what you said, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I snagged him, I poached him from another law firm, and he doubled his income the first year working for me, more than his best year ever at the other firm. My paralegals are all about 10 to 15% above industry average. You know, I try to overpay people and create an environment that, you know, we work to live. We don't live to work. And so the work's got to get done, right? I mean, we have KPIs that must be met and measured, but at the end of the day, if like one of my paralegals is leaving this afternoon to go to her kid's lacrosse game and stuff, you know, like family always comes first. And that may mean getting like, she's the same paralegal that was working at 2:00 in the morning to get her stuff done because she had a deadline, you know, like, but that's what she said. She's like, my kids come first. So I was gone for 20 hours during the work week to go take care of kids stuff. She's like, and so I worked at 2 a.m. in the morning, you know, like after my kids went to bed, she's like, I got all my work done because the work still has to get done too. But why not create a lifestyle like that? You know, like that was the right call for her. If I work at 2 a.m. in the morning, then I'm like hungover for 3 days. I
know, right?
But, somehow she can still do that. And
well, that's a testament to you and what you've created, right? If you have employees that are willing to do that,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah, we have the same philosophy here. It's like we want to pay them so well that no recruiter is going to poach them from us, and, you know, pay them well, treat them well. We provide lunch 2 to 3 times a week. We're taking them all to Busch Gardens tomorrow for our 5-year anniversary. There's
Awesome.
I know, dude, I think there's 35 of us going. It's
Sweet.
I know, it'll be fun. But yeah, just make it, it's got to be worth it to them. Otherwise you're going to lose them. And to lose somebody, to lose one of our probate paralegals or really any of our paralegals, it hurts.
Yeah.
It's a big loss because
Yep.
they're so knowledgeable and they do so much. And yeah.
I always say pay is the reason people don't leave, but it's that culture and that purpose is why they stay.
Right.
And so, I mean, there have been times that my paralegal is the one's been with me the longest, has been frustrated, and she's looked at her options and realized that she's going to take a huge pay cut to leave. Right. But there's a big difference between being in the office and not staying, right? Like the checked out culture. And so having that good culture, those purpose where they understand the impact that they're making, that's why they stay. That's why they stay up till 2:00 in the morning to meet deadlines. Right. And so, but you have to have both. You can have the best culture in the world. If they're getting underpaid and they can't put food on their table, they're going to go somewhere else. So you got to have both.
Yeah, for sure. Are you guys all in the office?
So the law firm is, I mean, I've got a couple of virtual assistants that do some minor stuff for us, marketing and advertising side, but all the legal team is here. My coaching business is completely virtual other than my wife, but everybody else is completely virtual on that business. So I've kind of done both.
Yeah. Tell me about your coaching business.
Yeah. Time Freedom Lawyers is what it's called, just specifically for attorneys. Right. And it started with, I just had a couple of attorneys like, hey, you seem to be doing pretty well. Like you've been doing this for a lot less time than me and you're making more money. Like, what are you doing? And started talking to them and realized that attorneys, just like me, when I first started out, sucked at business. I would meet attorneys that have been practicing for 15, 20 years, and they still didn't have 6 figures in take home income. And it just blew my mind. Clio actually even showed that the average take-home income for attorneys was only $68,000 in 2021. Yeah, it was atrociously low. And so I ultimately created kind of our foundational program, which is getting people to $10,000 a week in gross revenue, and that puts about it's about 500,000 in gross revenue and about 200 to 250,000 in owner compensation. And I was doing that for a while, and I had one of my mentors and my coaches, because we were doing it in about 6 months, give or take. He's like, "Can you do it in 12 weeks?" And I was like, "No, I've been doing it for 6 to 12 months, how can I do it in 12 weeks?" He's like, "Yeah, you can. Let's figure it out." So I sat down and put together a 12-week program, and we launched that a little over a year ago. And since that launch, 100% of the people, we have over 50 people that have joined the program. If they've completed the checklist, which is basic stuff, but if they completed the checklist, have hit $10,000 a week in average reoccurring revenue within 9 to 12 weeks. One person did it in 6. So I wouldn't say to predict 6 as realistic, but so that's really the heart and soul of what we do, is I try to get people that foundational stream of income, which then opens up the possibilities of what's next. The truth is, at that level, you're the attorney, you're doing the work. And so you go on vacation and you stop making money. So it gets expensive. Not only do you have to pay for the vacation, but you lose the income the week that you're gone. So that's not Time Freedom. That's not our Time Freedom Lawyer program, but that's nice, a foundation where now you've got a decent stream of income. You've built some of the foundations, and you can build what's next, whether that's hiring out a full team and, stepping away. I always wanted to only work 4 hours a week in my business. That 4-hour work week that Tim Ferriss, like I said, I read, that was my dream. And I do work about 2 to 4 hours a week in my law firm right now. My law firm is my muse that allows me to do what I love to do. And then I spend the rest of my time coaching. What I will tell you, if you're sitting here listening and you're like, I only want to work 4 hours a week. It's not about doing less, which is what I thought it was. I always thought I want to work less. And I can tell you from personal experience, I used to play about 20 to 30 hours of video games a week at work because I didn't need to, and I could just do whatever I wanted. That was also probably my most miserable and depressed time of my life. It's not about doing less. It's about doing more of what you love. And so I love coaching and helping people. Lucky my hobby pays me as well. But it can be whatever you want. I've got a client that she homeschools her 5 kids. And so she works 4 hours a day in her law firm, and she brings home about $200,000 a year doing that. And she spends the rest of her time homeschooling her kids, and she loves it.
She loves it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like perfect for her.
And could she make millions of dollars a year? She absolutely could. Would that make her happier? No. At this stage in her life, homeschooling her 5 kids is her purpose and what she loves. And I think that's what I think of as a time freedom lawyer. That's what drew me to your podcast of the Non-Stuffy Attorney, right? Is can you make really good money? Absolutely. And should you? That's up to you. But at the end of the day, it's what's your purpose and what excites you. And if you start there, just like we said, starting with clients' problems, if you start with what do you actually want, and then you build a law firm that supports that, that money is going to be fulfilling. And the truth is sometimes as you grow, you do need more money. There's been some things that I've wanted to do, like service for that abuse shelter, some donations that they've needed, some growth that I needed to be able to have the impact in our family law practice that we wanted to, and to offer some of the services that we wanted to. We needed to expand. All of that costs money. And so we make a lot more money now than I ever thought I needed. I used to always say all I need is $10,000 a month. We need a lot more than that to do what we need to do now, but it's fulfilling, right? And I can tell you from personal experience, I worked really hard to make $100,000 a month. Like I was hanging out with a bunch of like young kids, one of which was 19, and he was making $500,000 a month. And I was the poorest person in the room because I was only making like $50,000 to $60,000 a month. And I was the only person with a degree. Everybody else didn't even have a college degree. And I was like, I got to make more money. I got to make more money. 6 months later, I had my first $100,000 a month, and I was miserable because chasing an extra dollar that doesn't mean something does not make you happier. Now, I can tell you when it means something, it's sweet. So I'm not saying don't go make money, but start with your purpose, start with what makes you excited, and then build the firm that supports that. And that's what I think will make you the happiest.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that. We have, Ashley and I have personal and professional goals. Impacts that we want to create and that type of thing. And these things take money, right? Like, there's some causes that we like to donate to that are big causes, and they need lots of money. So it's like, okay, how much can we give? How much can we give? Okay, let's make more money so we can contribute more.
Exactly.
Money is, it's definitely not, it doesn't bring happiness, right? It just brings more options. It brings more options.
Yeah. It's an incredible tool. It's an incredible tool to do incredible things. But start with those things first, and then go get the tool, and you'll be a lot happier from personal experience. Like I said, sometimes I miss the 8-hour video game days, but I can say I'm a lot happier now than when I used to just junk out on video games all day.
What do you like to play?
Man, back then I was addicted to League of Legends, which is like a 5 versus 5, competitive play. And the thing is there's no end. Like there's always someone who's better than you. So you could grind for 8 hours, and even if you did well, you're like, okay, well, I'm still in the top 50%. Like, so it just, especially from someone being as competitive as I am, it was just the ultimate time consumer. Had to let that go to live a normal life again. But it was good fun.
Were you playing a lot while you were married?
Yeah. This is when I was a lawyer. Like seriously, I would come to work, I'd get my team set up on what they needed to do for the day, and then I'd just play games the rest of the day at work. In your
office?
In my office, yeah. I've got like these 3 32-inch monitors, right? So I could just jam out here.
Did they know you were playing?
Yeah, my team used to make pretty good fun of me, but I mean, again, they were getting paid well, so they were getting paid for the things they wanted to do, and it was good fun.
Oh, that's funny.
I am not suggesting that, but it's what I needed. I'd grown up always thinking that the goal was to work less. And so I needed that stage in my life to truly work less and be like, oh, this isn't what life
You were sitting there working less, and you're like, oh, I made it. And then you're like, this sucks.
Exactly. I'm glad I learned that then, because instead of like retiring at 50 and then realizing I'm miserable, my retirement plan now is have the money set aside so that if I can't work, that I'm okay financially, but I don't ever actually plan on truly retiring completely.
No, same.
Because I love the impact that we have on people. This brings me a lot of joy. So I plan to continue to travel a lot and do those other things, but not just like the goal is not to do less anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're doing what you love, right, and you have a
Mm-hmm.
purpose for it, it's not the typical work. It's not the grind that a lot of these people have working their 9 to 5, for a meaningless 9 to 5. It's just not. It's like, what would I do? Go play golf all day? Like if I didn't like,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone doing a little bit of that, right? Like I said, having a period of my life where I played an absurd amount of video games, that was a good learning opportunity for me. And I encourage my coaching clients to do the same, whether it's, I had one client that wanted to golf every Friday and, or buy the fancy sports car, whatever. Like there is a point in your growth phase where you do need to go get those things that you wanted so that you can see that it's possible, and then have some time to reflect and be like, okay, well, what do I actually want? Like, do I want another sports car, or is there more to this for me? So don't beat yourself up if you want the sports car. I have a Mustang Mach-E I'm driving right now because I wanted the sports car, but just part of the growth for sure.
Yeah. 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 No, I got one of the nice Range Rovers at the end of the year last year. Our accountant was basically like, look, you got to spend money. You guys made too much money last year. I was like, oh shit. I didn't even want it. But it's oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not a big car guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's where do you like to travel?
So I'm definitely a Disney addict. We went to Disneyland 4 times last year. And again, I live in Utah, right? So it's like a 12-hour drive. I love road tripping, as weird as that sounds. And so I like
it. I like it too.
Yeah. And like 12 hours, that's easy. Anything longer than that, it's probably worth flying. But for our family, 12 is perfect. And so we went to Disneyland 4 times last year. We're doing Disney World and a Disney cruise this year. Outside of Disney, my wife and I do a lot of cruises. That's kind of a fun way to see the world, but still relax a little bit. We did a pretty awesome 2-week European cruise through Greece and Italy and those places about 2 years ago. That was pretty fun. So that's kind of what we do. Just chill. I like everything being included. So I just show up and get to experience some new cultures and stuff, but I don't have to think and do all the work. I plan stuff all day right now. So it's kind of nice to not have to plan anything and just enjoy the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. We're big Disney people. We're pretty close to Disney World.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we moved from California in 2019 down here, and our daughter was, I guess, almost, she had just turned 8 or 9. And so we got the annual pass and did that whole thing. This year was the first year that we didn't renew it. She got a little bit tired of it, and then so we would go and we'd be there for like 30 minutes, and she'd be like, let's go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
So it turned out to start being, not as fun. How old are your kids?
11, 6, and 4. Yeah.
Great time to bring them to Disney.
It is. And that's really kind of what my wife and I said. Like it's still magical. Our 4-year-old's a girl, so the princesses are still real to her, and my oldest can now do all the fun rides and stuff. Our 6-year-old's like right there where he starts being able to do all the cool rides. He's like 1 inch off, so we're probably gonna have to buy some heel lifts or something.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
we're going in July, so I'm watching the board and we're making sure he'll hit that 40-something inch mark so he can do all the stuff. So yeah, it's a perfect age, and this is the season for Disney, and we'll do other things.
Will it be your first time to Disney World?
No, we were going at least once a year for a while. Last year we didn't go because we did Disneyland 4 times, but no, we've been.
What do you like better, World or Land?
I like Disney World more. I do.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Disneyland was so convenient. They kept having these deals. So we hadn't been for 4 years. And so we're like, let's do Disneyland for Christmas. We like to do experiences for Christmas, and then we'll still give them some presents, but it's usually like stuff they'll use for the experience instead of just junk that they don't need.
Same.
So we did that. We went and we're like, sweet. That was the first time we'd been in 4 years because we've been doing Disney World. Like, scratched the Disneyland itch. We're good. Well, then spring break rolls around and the plans we had fell through and Disneyland was on sale. So I was like, sweet. So we went to Disneyland, and then same thing for my wife's birthday. We travel for her birthday because her family sucks at celebrating it. It's a big deal for her. So we just travel every year for it. Plans fell through. The week, I don't want to put this on a podcast because people are now going to know, but so everybody has the 4th of July off, right? Like the whole country.
Yeah.
Which means everybody travels around that time. They like to sandwich their vacations around the days they already have off, right? Which means the week after that, everybody's back at work. So we went to my wife's birthday is the week after the 4th of July. So we're at Disneyland, and like every line was like 10 or 15 minutes. Like even the crazy long ones were like 30 minutes instead of 90. And so
it's genius.
I was like, I don't want to tell people my secret of traveling the week after the 4th of July because everybody's still working. But we did that again. And then my mother-in-law got jealous that we'd done all that stuff. And so she footed part of the bill for the whole family to go to Disneyland again for last Christmas. So we literally, like within 2 Christmases, did four times. So it was fun.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's smart, man. Yeah, because we were going to go up north for 4th of July this year. Yeah. Is that when you're going to Disney World?
Yeah, so Disney World will be again that week after the 4th of July. Which will be a little hot. Orlando's a little hot that time of year, but still a good time to travel. And my wife loves the heat, so I can deal with it if it makes her happy.
Do you like the heat?
No, no. I'm a redhead. Like I got to stay out of the sun. Where I crisp, but she loves it. So
my wife and I like the heat. We like to be out in the sun.
Yeah.
Where do you stay? Where are you staying?
You know what? I don't even know, to be honest. My sister-in-law is a travel agent, and so
she books it
my
all.
My wife and my sister-in-law went through and figured out which it's on site for sure, but they pick it and I just show up. Is that
how your vacations normally roll?
Yeah. Especially with my sister-in-law being the travel agent, they plan everything out. Disneyland and Disney World, I run the Genie passes, so which is fun. Like it's so fun to like strategically plan out and avoid the lines. I'm a nerd like that. I love the strategy of things. So
same.
I do a lot of that, but getting there, like my wife was teasing me because I don't have the Delta app on my phone. Like, so I never have our plane tickets. Like she has to like do my plane tickets for me. Like I'm one of her children. So yeah, it's great.
Man, I'm jealous of you because I got to do all that shit. My wife just shows up, and she's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
No clue. Yeah. Reservations, dinner, all that stuff. Yeah, that's funny. I wish I had that. Try and teach her or something.
Yeah.
So back to the coaching. Is the coaching like one-on-one, or do you have online classes, or what's it look like?
The answer is yes. That foundational program, in order to keep it affordable for people, it's a group program, which, I mean, I originally started it so that it would be affordable that way. But what I've actually found, one of the biggest hurdles for people to get to that $10,000 a week is believing it's possible for them.
Yeah.
The truth is, the math is really simple. Work 4 hours a day as the CEO of your business, work 4 hours a day as the attorney, and get paid for those 4 hours, and you'll effectively get there. I can teach the principles of how to get to 10,000 a week in 30 minutes. Why it takes 12 weeks to get there, obviously you got to do the work, but it's the mindset and understanding and believing what you are possible. And being in a group and seeing other people who also didn't think it was possible achieve it is often what is like the kicker that people need. So that's a group program. We have a mastermind program. That's by invite and referral only. So either a current member of the mastermind has to refer you, or you have to be invited from a past program. That's just a great way to kind of rub shoulders and, ask questions of other attorneys who are successful. And then we have a premium time freedom, like it's called the Time Freedom Lawyer Success System. That is it's a one-on-one coaching program with me. But it's also, we actually go in and help you build the team that you need to create an automated law firm. And so your team members are also getting coached in either one-on-one or group programs to make sure that you have all the elements you need to build that out. So that's a more expensive premium product.
Sure.
But it's also only designed, you kind of have to have done the foundational stuff and have the money coming in for that to make sense. So it kind of depends on where you're at in your journey. But my goal, no matter which one you're in, is to kind of start building up that foundation of why are we doing this all? What does your law firm mean to you? Some people, their law firm is their purpose. Like the problems that they're solving is what has motivated them. That's what motivates them in life. And so we build a huge, beautiful law firm that solves a lot of people's problems. Other people like me, their law firm is their muse. They need an income stream so they can focus on something else. We can do that too. Both are possible. It just kind of depends on what's important to them, and we'll kind of walk them through that journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. How many coaches you got?
The one-on-one stuff's just me.
Nice.
And then I have a client success coach, and my wife does a lot of the employee stuff. Actually, she has a very unique skill set in the fact that she grew up with self-employed parents. And so she helped manage businesses from a young age. She managed their reception center for 15 years. So she understands the owner side. She understands the manager side, that kind of manage people. But during that entire time, she's also been an employee. She was a dental assistant, and then she's actually a dental hygienist and does that still one day a week. Not for the money. She loves dental hygiene. She loves teeth. I always tease her and ask her if she wants to quit, and she keeps telling me no because she loves teeth. But because of that, it's really cool because she's seen business through the lens of the employee and the frustrations employees have, but she's also seen it through the employer and the manager that kind of has to keep the employer and the employees happy, right? And so she's one of the few people I've ever met that can truly understand everyone's point of view and bring them together. So she does most of our employee training and insights there, which is kind of a unique thing I've never seen someone else be able to do.
Yeah. Are most of the clients family law attorneys?
Most of the clients are fee-based attorneys, right? So criminal law, family law, immigration, estate planning, those services where someone needs to bargain for exchange, right? They pay you and then they get a service on the back end. I work with some personal injury attorneys if they have the right mindset. That's by application only because I want to make sure that their business makes sense. Because we're obviously not doing flat fees and stuff in a contingency fee service like that. Some can do it really well. In fact, my most successful clients were all PI attorneys because the opportunities are so incredible there. But you've got to have the right mindset on that one. So I'm pretty picky on if I work with them. But criminal law, family law, immigration, estate planning, like those practices is really easy to make happen, make a lifestyle that you want.
Yeah. I mean, we do estate planning, probate, some Medicaid. Our practice is just skyrocketed. I remember when we got to 10,000. Right?
Yeah.
It was like 10,000 a week. It was like, here we are. And then it's like, okay, now we need to get to 30,000. And then we were at 30,000 for a while. And then I remember my wife announcing to the staff, okay, we've been at 30 to 40,000. Now we need to jump it up. We need to get 65,000 every week. Like that needs to be our bottom. And then it jumped up. Okay, now we need 100,000 every week. Has to be 100,000. And so that's where we are now. It's a fun game, and we had been telling our staff for like a year we wanted to get to 100,000 in a week, and we kept saying, okay, as soon as we get there, one of our sales girls, she was like, hey, we should all go to Burns Steakhouse, which is like this super fancy steakhouse in Tampa, really expensive. She goes, we should go there when we hit 100,000. And it took about a year of us saying that. We kept just bringing it up. One week we got like 93.
Yeah.
And then the week we hit it, we actually brought in 150,000 that week. And
That's so
it was like, holy shit. And then while we were at the dinner, I said, look, if we hit 250,000, we're going to take everyone to Puerto Rico for a weekend.
yeah.
And so, yeah, that's our next target. Haven't come close to it yet, but
Yeah. See, that's so cool. And that's a testament, one, to the culture you've built, also to the power of people having goals and setting those. My first $10,000 week was the same thing. We'd never crossed 8. And I told, it was just me and my paralegal at the time. And I was like, hey, look, if we cross 10, I'll give you $100, just cash. Which at the time she was living paycheck to paycheck. Her like excess income for the month was $74. And so $100 like more than doubled her extra spending power for just fun stuff that up and above what she needed. And 2 weeks later, we had our first $10,000 week. I'd never been able to cross 8. And then as soon as there was money on the line, $100, best $100 I ever spent, right? Within 6 weeks, we were averaging 10,000 a week. And I was like, oh, like little motivation goes a long ways, right? And
yeah,
it's a fun journey though, to go like thinking all I need is 10,000 a month to now I need 10,000 a week, and then 10,000 a day, and then 100,000 a week. Like it never ends, but it's a fun journey to watch as you grow.
no, it never ends. And the thing is that statistics can always go up, right? They're either going up, which means you're expanding. If they stay the same, it's eventually going to contract. So it's either going down, staying the same, or you're going up. And so our philosophy in the business and in life, right, not just personally,
Right.
personal development, all that stuff, is like our metrics need to be continuously going up. And if they're not, then okay, what's going on? What do we need to do? Right?
Yeah.
Like what was introduced or what was dropped out that caused that, and fixing it. Like with our employees, every single one of them has a KPI,
Yep.
and we track it on a weekly basis.
Yes.
Right? But and so we have a weekly staff meeting where we go over like any issues, and then any just general announcements, and then everyone presents their graph. So we go right one person at a time. They hold up their graph, like this, and we also meet every day. So every day they're reporting what their cumulative numbers are, and so it's like, okay, what do we, are you on pace to be up from the previous week? Right? We're always just trying to be up from the previous week from a macro level or micro level. Now, as management, we're looking at trends. We're looking at 4 weeks, quarterly. We're looking at those kind of trends. But the employees that are in the day to day, sometimes it's hourly, right? We're like, okay, where are you at now? Right, 2 p.m. Okay, what have you gotten done? But yeah, when you do that, it's like you go into that staff meeting and you show your graph that looks like shit. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right. It's embarrassing. People don't want that. They want to be productive. They want to, it's like a pride thing, right? It's almost like if your stats are down, or really down, it's like you didn't do your job.
Yeah. And I'm impressed that you review that frequently. And whenever I'm working with a medium-sized firm and they're stagnated, my number one piece of advice is usually to shorten their review cycles. Most firms at 1 to 2 million a year, they have KPIs. Like they've built the foundational stuff, so they know what metrics to track. They have KPIs, and they're almost always reviewing them monthly.
Way too long.
Yeah, I had one client. I mean, he did great. He did like 700,000 his first year. He was an experienced attorney, so he didn't have to learn stuff. He did like 1.5 his next year, and he was on track to do 1.5 his third year. And that's when he hired me. He's like, "What the crap? Like, I've been growing, and the only change I can truthfully say I made is we shortened his review cycle from once a month to once a week, and then each day the team members had to do if I only got one thing done today, what would it be? They had to drop that in the Slack channel. We had a daily prioritization Slack channel for him. That's and then obviously we reviewed the numbers and we tweaked what didn't work, but just by going from monthly review cycles to weekly review cycles, he did 4.5 million that next year, just by shortening the review cycle. So a little tip that you mentioned that I think is worth paying attention to.
Oh, of course. You know, your staff starts paying attention to it. They know that you're aware. People want to they want to help.
Yeah.
Right. So your employees, they want to do a good job. They want you to be proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, monthly is just, you're just not really getting, you're just not in there enough to have them show. I don't know how to even describe it. They can't really prove to you, right, that they did a good job.
Yeah.
I think it's just,
and it's hard to sustain the growth after. Like you talk about the numbers and like, okay, well, you didn't do enough. I did this with a PI firm, and so it was all about demand letters sent. And he came to me, and one of the reasons we started coaching is his team hadn't sent out a demand letter in 8 weeks, and he didn't know for 8 weeks. I was like, well, that's problem number one. Like, demand letters are the heart and soul of making money as in a PI firm, because that's what starts the negotiation process, right? So I dare say the 80-20 of PI firms is sending out demand letters. I was like, dude, the fact that you didn't know for 8 weeks is the biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
But when they would review things on a monthly basis, they talk about it, and like for the next 3 or 4 days, they would do really good, and then they'd fall back into their old habits, and he wouldn't know for a whole month until that happened, Where if you're doing it once a week, it's just it's small enough chunks that they can work on small chunks at a time and improve over time.
Right. And too much happens in a month, yes. Right? It's like you can't isolate when things are going down, right? Like did something change, or was something added that shouldn't have been added?
Yeah.
If you're doing that on a monthly basis, it's like there's just so much. It's like, imagine, you look at a year, okay, I'm up over last year, but I didn't keep track of anything. Like, what caused it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So
there's a book, The 12-Week Year by, can you hear me?
One second.
You can start singing the ABCs to you if you need.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. My audio cut out.
Oh,
shocker.
Well, I was saying there's a book. It's called The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran. I don't know if you've read that one or not.
No.
But, that's effectively the principle of the book. He's like, yearly goals are too long. People work really hard on them in January. They work really hard on them in December. But then the 10 months in the middle, they just fall back into their routines. And so he said every week is now a month. And so every year is now 12 weeks. But that's the idea. You shorten the review cycle, and you bite off smaller chunks that you can actually focus on in each week. And then you review everything on a weekly basis. And exactly what you were talking about there, right? But it just makes it a systematic approach. And I like it. And I've implemented a lot of what he said in that book, because that also means if you do the math, that's 48 weeks in a year, right? Which means there's 4 weeks more. And so I do a 12-week year, and then I take a week off. And I use that time to pause and reflect. Me and my wife, we do goals and plans and those types of things, and figure out what we're going to do for the next time. Towards the end of that review week, we do a meeting with our entire team, a full day, where we just dive in and review what we learned over the last 12 weeks, what we're going to focus on the next 12 weeks, and get them excited about that next 12-week year. So another good, simple read. It kind of has a little summary of like start with why at the beginning of goal setting and that kind of stuff, and then jumps into how to achieve them over 12 weeks. So
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I think long-term goals have to be set as well. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, we've put in a practice. We got it from Grant Cardone, where we write down our goals every day, like literally, right? Like big goals, and we write them down as if they've already happened. So it's like, I have a $20 million year revenue law firm, right? Something like that. And rather than I want to have it. And so it's like, you're postulating, you're putting that into the physical universe, you're putting it down on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And most people do that yearly, right? Yearly, like they do their New Year's resolutions and all that stuff. But it's like, Grant talks about doing it daily, because you have to like constantly be creating your ideal scene and mocking it up and bringing it forth. And it's obviously not like, okay, I want a 20 I have a $20 million law firm. That's not just going to manifest itself, right? No, but if I'm like constantly putting attention there, and I'm constantly putting that future there, then my actions right now are going to contribute to it.
Yeah.
Well,
the foundational principle of my entire coaching program is mind plus action equals results. So it starts in the mind, and you do the things that you end up focusing on. So you start in the mind, you focus your goals on that. And I have them recite their goals out loud twice a day. Same idea, whether you're writing it down, or it's just got to become a part of who you are. And then each day you prioritize the day of, what am I going to do today? Right? If I only get one thing done, what is it? But it's all about the action. And if you focus on something for long enough and take action towards it every single day, it will happen. I mean,
totally.
Unless it's like, I want to be a 7-foot center in the NBA. That's never going to happen, right? I'm never going to be 7 feet, but realistically, almost any goal is possible.
That's right. Yeah. It's like almost anything is. And it's really as simple as deciding that this is what you're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've had in life, good and bad, right? The good shit and the bad shit was all stuff that I decided I was going to have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Better or for worse.
Right.
So focus on the right things, because you're going to get it.
Yeah. It's like, we'll oftentimes like, we'll say some like negative thing, like Ashley or I will, like, oh, this is going to happen. Or, if she does that, this is what's going to happen. Be like, dude, you need to shut up, because shit's going to come true.
Yeah.
Right? You start deciding that that's what's going to happen. Yeah. It's pretty funny. But, well, man, it's been good talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. Glad to be here. Glad you came. Yeah, I guess if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing. If you need anything, or anybody has a question about, I love talking about business. I can talk about business all day. So whether it's you or one of the listeners here, if someone ever has a question, I'm happy to talk about it. This is my favorite thing.
Right on. All right, man. We'll stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.